Before we go any further, viewer discretion is strongly advised. What you're about to hear, it's the federal courtroom testimony from the Diddy trial, as reported by Inner City Press. And what came out has flipped Hollywood on its head. It all started with a question. What could Ben Affleck possibly know that would push Diddy to the brink and send Jennifer Lopez fleeing on a private jet, vanishing into the night like she knew the walls were finally closing in? Nobody expected Ben to show up in that courtroom, not as a celebrity, not even as J.Lo's ex-husband. He came in with a purpose, a witness, with a notebook, a hard drive, a story buried so deep you wouldn't believe it unless you saw it unfold. In court, and now we have. This wasn't just a personal vendetta. This was about what Ben found, a secret tunnel under a mansion, video evidence, coded texts, names, powerful names, tied to events too disturbing to fully grasp. And at the heart of it all, Jennifer Lopez's name sitting right there in Ben's notebook. The courtroom froze. Was she a victim, a witness, or someone who'd stayed quiet to protect something much bigger? Ben didn't cry, he didn't crumble. He spoke with purpose and brought receipts. What he revealed made Diddy slam his fist on the table and left Jennifer Lopez sitting silent, head bowed, completely still. And the question hung in the air like smoke. Why now? Why would Ben risk everything, his reputation, his safety, his legacy, to bring this forward? What did he see behind the Hollywood red carpets, the glossy magazine covers, the whirlwind romance that seemed too perfect to question? We're not talking about some tabloid breakup or a messy celebrity feud. We're talking about one man stepping into the fire and exposing a network built on silence, power, and fear. And it all began when Ben Affleck took the stand, turning what was supposed to be a trial about Diddy into a full-blown unraveling of everything Hollywood doesn't want you to see. I was there, right outside the federal courthouse in Manhattan, as the crowd of reporters swarmed the exit. Ben emerged after testifying, his face pale, his eyes bloodshot. He didn't say a word, not one, just kept walking like a man who had given up his last ounce of strength to tell the truth. And inside, what he dropped wasn't just shocking, it was explosive. Ben testified that he uncovered hidden surveillance gear, a tunnel buried beneath a mansion, a safe full of documents, party lists, coded messages, and, maybe most devastating of all, a video. Something so disturbing he couldn't even finish watching it, but even the glimpse he saw was enough to change everything. The court went silent. And Jennifer, she didn't say a word either, just stared ahead, because Ben wasn't just pointing fingers. He was laying bare what he discovered after their marriage rekindled in 2021, when the fairy tale started to crack, when Jennifer's phone buzzed with late-night messages she wouldn't explain, when she started disappearing at odd hours, and when he finally got a message that shook him to his core. A single anonymous email. She never left Diddy. Check her phone. What Ben found that night changed everything. A text from an unmarked number. 2 a.m., same spot. Don't let Affleck find out. He called the number. And the voice on the other end? Diddy. Calm. Cold. Ben, stop digging. You don't know what you're getting into. And just like that, the curtain started to lift. You ever notice how sometimes little things start feeling off? Jennifer pacing in the living room when she thought he was asleep. The faint sound of something shifting beneath the floor. A joke, maybe. A coincidence. Until it's not. Then came the accident. Ben was driving through heavy fog outside LA. No destination, just following a gut feeling he couldn't shake. A black SUV appeared in his rearview mirror, closer, brighter, then without warning, bam! It slammed into him. The crash was brutal. His head hit the wheel, glass everywhere. He was lucky to walk away, but through the haze he saw it. Someone inside that SUV staring straight at him, motionless, like they were making sure he got the message. The police called it random. Ben knew better. Cam footage traced the license plate to a shell company. An anonymous tip confirmed it, linked to Diddy. Then came another hit. His parents' home in Boston. ransacked, furniture smashed, photos ripped apart, and scrawled across the wall in blood-red paint, "Keep quiet, or your family's done." At that point, Ben couldn't ignore it. He remembered a night when Jennifer, half asleep and drunk, whispered something that wouldn't leave his mind. Diddy has a notebook. Every secret's in there. So he searched through every drawer, every inch of their shared home, and eventually he found it. A loose floorboard. A tunnel, dark, cold, like something out of a nightmare. At the end, a locked room, surveillance gear, a safe. Inside, the notebook, the hard drive, everything. And that's where this trial truly began. Ben had a choice. Run or testify. He chose the stand. And now, Hollywood's foundations are shaking. Let me ask you this. If you found out the person you loved, the person you trusted with everything, was hiding the darkest truth imaginable, would you walk away or would you burn the whole thing down? Comment your answer. I'll reply to everyone. Because this trial isn't just a headline, it's a turning point. And trust me, this was just the beginning. After that crash and the threats scrawled on his family's wall, Ben Affleck knew he wasn't just uncovering drama, he was inside something deeper, darker. And when he finally peeled up that loose floorboard and found the tunnel, everything he feared became real. It was narrow, cold, the kind of place that didn't feel like it belonged in any home, let alone the house he shared with someone he once loved. The flashlight in his hand flickered. The walls were lined with damp concrete, and the air smelled stale, like something had been shut away down there for years. But what he found inside the hidden room at the end of the tunnel wasn't some forgotten storage space. No, this was something deliberate. Equipment was set up, lights, cameras, wiring, and in the corner that heavy, locked safe. When he forced it open, what spilled out changed everything. First was the notebook. The same one Jennifer had once mumbled about in a haze. It wasn't just scribbles. It was a meticulous, horrifying log. Diddy's freak-off parties, described in shocking detail. Names, dates, locations, celebrities, government officials, transactions, even donations listed to fake charities, allegedly, used as fronts for trafficking and laundering. It wasn't just shady. It was surgical. But then came something that nearly made Ben drop the book altogether. A note, handwritten in Jennifer's unmistakable handwriting. "Make sure everyone stays quiet. Move the package through the fund." What was the package? Ben didn't want to guess, but every part of him felt the weight of betrayal settle in his chest. And then, the hard drive. Ben loaded it onto his laptop. At first, it was just static. But soon, a video played. Shaky, low light, loud music thumping in the background. And there, standing next to Diddy, was a woman who looked exactly like Jennifer. Eyes cold, composed. But that wasn't the worst part. Next to her stood a young girl, clearly distressed. The video cut before anything else showed, but it was enough. Enough to freeze Ben where he sat. Enough to make him feel like his blood had turned to ice. He shut the laptop. He couldn't go any further. Not yet. Because the woman he once thought he'd protect forever might have been part of something he couldn't even put into words. But the revelations kept coming. In the same safe, Ben found an old phone. Hidden, powered off, dusty from years of silence. When he booted it up, one message stared back at him. "Shine took the fall. We're safe now." And suddenly, it clicked. That 1999 club shooting, the one that sent the rapper Shine to prison for a decade. Ben remembered how Jennifer had also been arrested that night. But she was released. Quick. No charges, no questions. Digging further, Ben found out something few knew. Diddy and Jennifer had secretly married in 1999. That marriage gave her spousal privilege. It meant she couldn't be forced to testify against him. It wasn't love. It was protection, legal insulation, and worse. Guns found in the tunnel under their house were registered in Ben's name. Someone had set him up. If he hadn't found that safe, if he hadn't checked the tunnel, who knows what might have happened next? Can you even imagine finding out your partner used your own name to bury their past? Ben made copies of everything. The notebook, the hard drive, the phone. He hid the originals just in case. And he sat with the weight of all of it. The lies, the manipulation, the violence, the power, the network, but he still hadn't gone public. Not yet. Not until Cassie took the stand, the woman who had been with Diddy for years. The one who disappeared from the public eye. Her voice cracked as she described what she'd lived through, the control, the pressure, the fear, and then she said something that made the entire courtroom freeze. Jennifer was at those parties. She knew everything. That was the moment Ben stopped second-guessing. He handed the evidence over to the FBI, but he held back one final piece, the marriage certificate, that secret 1999 union, the one meant to shield Jennifer and Diddy from the law. And as Ben prepared to testify, he wasn't just fighting for himself anymore. He was fighting for shine, for Cassie, for everyone else who didn't have the voice or the power to go against this machine. And when he finally stood in court, he laid it all out: the car crash, the tunnel, the camera setup, the safe, the hard drive, the messages, the fake charities, the smuggled gun, the marriage forged not in love, but in silence. "I loved her," Ben said, locking eyes with Jennifer across the room, "but she chose to stand with the devil." The courtroom erupted. Diddy's lawyers shouted. Jennifer's face went pale. Reporters bolted for the doors. And the judge? He ordered an immediate search of Ben's mansion, a new investigation into that 1999 shooting, and, maybe most shocking of all, he demanded that Jennifer Lopez appear in court, but she never showed. Within hours, Jennifer disappeared, gone, and that's when the public started asking the questions that couldn't be ignored anymore. Was Jennifer Lopez just a bystander, or something far more dangerous? Comment what you think, because we're not even halfway through, and the lies are starting to crumble. By the time the judge issued that subpoena for Jennifer Lopez, everyone in the courtroom expected a storm. But what came next wasn't just shocking, it was cinematic. Because Jennifer, she was gone. No public statements, no court appearance, no Instagram stories, no paparazzi shots. Her mansion in Beverly Hills, empty, windows dust-covered. Security out front, but no trace of her inside. Neighbors said it looked like she hadn't been home in days. A private jet was spotted leaving Van Nuys Airport the night before her court date. Destination unknown, but whispers swirled fast. She'd fled to a country with no extradition treaty, and just like that, Jenny from the block disappeared from the map. Social media exploded. "Where is J.Lo?" trended within hours. Some people defended her, calling her a scapegoat. Others called her guilty by association. Either way, the public wanted answers. Meanwhile, back in the courtroom, Diddy didn't flinch. He stayed seated, that faint smirk playing on his lips, like he knew something, like he wasn't worried. And maybe he wasn't, because despite the storm raging outside, Diddy still held on to his defense. His lawyers pounced on Ben's testimony, claiming it was nothing more than revenge from a bitter ex. They tried painting Ben as emotionally unstable, a man cracking under pressure, a washed-up actor clinging to the spotlight. They said he was jealous, obsessed, desperate to pull Jennifer down with him, but the jury didn't seem convinced. Why? Because the evidence didn't lie. There was a notebook with names, accounts, secret parties, a hard drive with video files too, disturbing to ignore, a text message trail tying Diddy and Jennifer to the 1999 shooting, a marriage certificate proving she was legally bound to protect him, a tunnel beneath Ben's home lined with equipment meant for what exactly? And guns, registered in Ben's name, found hidden below. This wasn't just some Hollywood meltdown, it was organized, tactical, planned. And Ben, he had receipts, but what really silenced the courtroom wasn't the files, or the tunnels, or the messages. It was Ben's testimony, his voice shaking but his words razor-sharp. He looked the jury dead in the eye and said, "I didn't come here to ruin anyone's career. I came here because I couldn't sleep knowing what I found. I came here because someone has to stand up when everyone else stays quiet." And that's when it hit the room. This wasn't about celebrity drama anymore. It was about patterns, about abuse, about people who thought they were untouchable. One juror even wiped away a tear. A reporter wrote in his notes, "This just stopped being a story about Diddy. It's now about everyone he protected and everyone who protected him." The judge ordered an emergency FBI search of the Beverly Hills estate. Every room, every floor, every locked closet. And while the warrant was being executed, more evidence started to pour in. Former bodyguards came forward anonymously, saying they saw things they were paid to forget. Staff members who'd worked events at Diddy's homes reported strange deliveries, bizarre rules, and high-profile guests who never used the front door. And all of it traced back to the same pattern: freak-off parties, secret recordings, NDA agreements, money trails, and silence. So why run, Jennifer? That's the question that turned up the heat on everything. If she was innocent, why disappear? If she had nothing to hide, why flee the country? Some say she was afraid of retaliation. Others believe she was in on it from day one. But whatever the truth is, the courtroom saw her silence as an answer in itself. And Diddy, he sat there, watching it all unfold. The once glamorous empire he built now burning down, one testimony at a time. And still, he barely blinked, as if the worst hadn't even come yet. And maybe it hadn't, because if Ben was telling the truth, if Jennifer really was involved, and if those documents were real, then this trial wasn't even the final chapter. It was just the beginning. So now the spotlight has shifted again. The public wants to know, where's Jennifer Lopez? What's really on that hard drive? And how deep does Diddy's web of power actually go? Drop your thoughts below. I'm replying to everyone in the comments because we need to talk about this. All of it, every layer. Because if what Ben found is just scratching the surface, then what's still buried might be even darker than we imagined. By the time Jennifer Lopez vanished, everything in that courtroom had changed. This wasn't a celebrity scandal anymore. This was systemic. This was about power, protection, and the people they thought could never be touched. And that's when the black book came in. No one saw it coming, not even the prosecution. It wasn't part of the evidence Ben originally submitted, but after the FBI raided his property and verified the tunnel under his home was real, agents discovered a hidden compartment beneath the room's floor. Inside it, wrapped in heat-sealed plastic behind false concrete, a second notebook. This one wasn't about parties. This was the ledger, titled only Operation Silence. It was filled with coded transactions, initials of handlers, backdoor payments to entertainment agencies, and what appeared to be schedules, coordinated movements of people across cities and countries, flights, hotels, private estates, all linked by reference numbers that, according to investigators, matched private jet manifests and offshore account transfers. Worse, some of the entries connected directly to Jennifer Lopez's business manager. Names appeared, pseudonyms decoded. At least 4 of the aliases traced back to confirmed victims who had been missing from the industry for years. 2 of them were last seen at Diddy-hosted events. One was an underage performer whose disappearance was brushed off as personal struggles. Now, her name was written in red ink beside the phrase, "No longer viable." What does that even mean? The room turned cold when the court heard that, and just when things felt like they couldn't get any more sinister, the bloodline bombshell dropped. A forensic analyst testified under oath. Someone had performed DNA suppression on medical records linked to a child whose paternity had long been questioned. The father, Diddy; the mother, allegedly one of the missing girls listed in the notebook. The implications? Staggering. This wasn't just about exploitation. It was about control, about legacy, about hiding entire lives behind NDAs and settlements. The court brought in a digital analyst who confirmed the video files on Ben's hard drive had been time-stamped and never edited. The faces visible, unmistakable. One was a Grammy-winning artist, another was a major film producer, and in one, Jennifer herself, smiling, whispering something to Diddy as cameras rolled in the background. That was the moment the courtroom broke. Reporters left their seats. One juror asked for a recess to regain composure. The judge had to bang the gavel 3 times to restore order. Diddy's team requested a mistrial. Denied. And then the prosecution turned to Cassie. She returned to the witness stand, shaky but braver. Her testimony from earlier had shaken the courtroom, but now she had more. She spoke of a ritual, a dark initiation Diddy allegedly used to bind people to him. The details were too graphic to repeat here, but one line burned through the courtroom. He said no one gets out clean, not even J.Lo. She recalled seeing Jennifer participate in a ceremony that Cassie now described as a test of loyalty. She remembered Jennifer leaving in silence afterward, wiping her face, her hands trembling, and for anyone still thinking Jennifer was just collateral damage, that memory shifted the narrative entirely. So we asked you last time, was she a victim? But now we have to ask, was she a gatekeeper? Ben sat frozen through it all. His testimony was over, but his presence loomed. The man who started this chain reaction, now watching the very system he trusted, revealed just how twisted it had become. And then something happened that no one saw coming. The leak. A folder from the FBI's internal case files hit the internet. Not through court, not through press, but via an anonymous source on an encrypted platform. It included pages from Jennifer's personal calendar, emails sent to Diddy from an account marked Phoenix 3, and flight records that placed her in locations directly tied to at least 3 other investigations, and in one chilling email, dated just 2 days before Kim Porter's death, Jennifer wrote, "Whatever happens next, I'm not going down with this. You promised I'd be protected." If you're sitting there thinking this is fiction, it isn't. This was courtroom testimony. This was entered into evidence. This is real. So now here we are. Jennifer Lopez is officially wanted for questioning and potentially indictment. Ben Affleck is under 24-hour federal protection. Diddy remains in custody, but his legal team has reportedly started negotiating a plea. And the public? It's no longer just watching, it's demanding answers. So let's talk. What do you believe happened in that tunnel? Do you think Jennifer ever planned to tell the truth, or was she always going to run? Let me know in the comments. I'm reading every single one, and yes, I'll reply. Because if this is how deep the tunnel went, then we haven't reached the bottom yet. By the time court resumed the next day, something felt different. The chatter in the hallway was gone. Reporters weren't scrambling. Even the jurors moved slower, heavier, like the room itself had absorbed too much darkness to shake off. And yet, there was more. The judge took the bench, eyes tired but focused, and asked a simple question. Is the prosecution ready to proceed? They were. But what they said next sent a ripple through every seat in the courtroom. We would like to enter Exhibit 237 into evidence, the prosecutor announced. Recovered audio, recorded on November 13, 2018, approximately 2 hours before Kim Porter's death. No one breathed. The courtroom tech rolled in a speaker, a single file loaded onto the screen. K. Porter, Nov 13, final wave. The sound started low, static, a faint humming, and then her voice. Kim Porter, clear, calm, tired, almost like she knew no one would ever hear it. If anything happens to me, I want it on record. I was being followed, my phone's bugged, and I don't trust him anymore. Not after what I found in that vault. She didn't say Diddy's name. She didn't have to. She talked about feeling cornered, about hearing stories from women who were too afraid to speak, about Jennifer, about the videos. And then, in a moment that cracked even the stoic court stenographer's composure, Kim whispered, I wanted to believe she didn't know. But she did. She always did. It wasn't just a goodbye. It was a woman signing off from a life that had silenced her for too long. And in that moment, with Kim's voice echoing off the walls of a federal courtroom, Jennifer Lopez wasn't a pop icon anymore. She was a question, an enigma, a key to something much bigger, but she was still missing. The U.S. Marshals confirmed she had boarded a private jet the night before her subpoena was issued. Destination? Undisclosed. The aircraft was later tracked to a small island in the Indian Ocean, a place with no extradition treaty, a place where secrets go to sleep, The prosecution requested a bench warrant. The judge approved it. Jennifer Lopez was officially a fugitive, and yet the case wasn't just about her anymore. Because just as the government tried to close the net, around her something else happened. Witnesses disappeared, one by one. A security contractor from Diddy's team, gone. A woman scheduled to testify about a 2006 party, vanished. Even the FBI's own informant inside Bad Boy Entertainment stopped responding to encrypted channels. What started as a trial was now a full-blown war of information. Then, in the most twisted moment yet, Diddy's lawyers made a move that no one saw coming. They requested a deal. They were willing to flip. They offered names, files, recordings, even hinted at a judge on their payroll. And just like that, the courtroom wasn't about guilt anymore. It was about leverage. The judge recessed for deliberation. Outside, chaos.news vans trampled one another for a signal. Hashtags surged. Where is Glow? Justice for Kim. Just Affleck. Truth. Just Operation Silence. And yet, there was no verdict. Because, just as the court was set to resume the final phase of trial, a message appeared on the prosecution's private server. A single sentence. If you push this, the footage drops. Untraceable sender. Encrypted. Attached was a preview clip, a 5-second flash of something that looked like a celebrity, a miner, and a camera crew. Blurred faces. But the implication, nuclear. And suddenly, the prosecution pulled back. A federal gag order was issued. The trial wasn't over, but it was paused. Indefinitely, they said. So now we're left with the pieces. Kim Porter's voice, speaking from beyond the grave. Ben Affleck's broken heart turned into a weapon of truth. Jennifer Lopez, gone. Diddy sitting silently in court, no longer defiant, just waiting. And a notebook, still half redacted. So now I have to ask you, what do you think is in the footage they're all so afraid of? Do you think Diddy's team is trying to bury the truth or weaponize it? Comment below. I'm reading everything. I reply to all of it. You already know I don't run from the dark, because sometimes justice doesn't end in a verdict. It ends with a warning. And if this story disappears tomorrow, at least you heard it here first.